this
How
aspect.
did this happen? This is what, it's so difficult to understand, especially for Indians. For us, it's impossible to imagine for any Indian to forget the trauma of partition. No Indian can forget the trauma of partition, though it's 60 plus years. Whereas, how has Bangladesh forgotten the trauma of its creation, where millions were killed, where they were raped, and it's just 1971 that it happened. So how did it happen that they've just forgotten or erased it from the memory?
You
How
see,
did
this
that
is what
happen?
happens in controlled societies, or societies that have been under autocratic rule for extended periods of time, societies that are dominated by religious ideologies, societies where education has a very, very strong overlay of propaganda, of ideology. The net result is that the children are brought up to believe what they are taught to believe. There is no context of questioning. There is no context of a constant reappraisal of history. The history that is taught in any event is a particular history. To say they have forgotten the trauma of the freedom struggle is wrong. They never learnt of it.
It's like what happened in Pakistan. They don't believe that in 71 that they caused the rapes, that they caused the genocide. Most Pakistani children post 71 don't know that a genocide happened and it was caused by their generals, isn't it?
Absolutely. Pakistan teaches a completely different history of the 71 war as compared to, say, the Indian perception or the international perception or the Bangladeshi perception. Pakistan has invented its entire post-independence history. In fact, it has reinvented its entire pre-independence history as well, linking it more and more to West Asia rather than to the subcontinent. That is what I mean by controlled societies, by ideologically overwhelmed societies, not just dominated but ideologically overwhelmed societies. Now, for many phases, except for the brief tenures that Sheikh Hasina was in power and the very short tenure that Sheikh Mujib was in power, denial has been the integral element of all regimes, military and non-military. So when denial has been the integral element of all these regimes, and it has passed through into the school textbooks, into the environment of discourse, you will be astonished that even today, in the media in Bangladesh, the reportage on the war crimes is extremely subdued. The question is why? Because everyone lives in an atmosphere of fear in Bangladesh, thinking that if the BNP Jamaat come back and we are seen to have been advocating the trials, we will be victimized, selectively pulled out and harmed.
And if you could briefly tell me what were the nature of the war crimes, and will there be closure for those who were victims of those war crimes?
Look, I think if you want to summarize what the war crimes were all about, then the Pakistani commander in what was then East Pakistan, Niazi, he had made a declaration. He said, "I will leave a bastard and a mourning lamp in every house." That was the strategy. That is what they set out to do and achieved in significant measure. They raped as an instrument of policy. They tried in every home. The total number of rapes in that period of about 7-8 March to December, about 8 or 9 months, was over 200,000 rapes, at least. And you know that rape is something that is often not even reported or mentioned. So 200 recorded rapes, close to 3 million killed. Over 10 million refugees on Indian soil.
And when killed, then you're talking about orphans, you're talking about families which have lost their bread earner.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you're also talking about that, but you're also talking about the sheer, you're very often not even talking about orphans, because entire families, men, women, children, everyone was killed. You're talking about the shock of a violence that those who have experienced it directly or indirectly, in their families, in their villages, as witnesses, they will never be, shall we say, healed.
Why was the international community silent then and subsequently all these years?
The dominant community internationally was silent because America was the dominant power then, as it is even today, and America supported Pakistan and did not want the truth of what was happening in East Pakistan to come out. And the Western powers, by and large, went along with this.
And India could not, because its voice was not heard? India
Did not have that kind of a voice. India, I think, still has a very limited influence in international discourse. We are not even able to very effectively put across our own problems in terms of, our victimhood as from organized state-sponsored terrorism.
And Russia, which was then USSR, did not want to get involved? What was the...
You see, there was no very active... Russia supported us clearly. When the Americans sent in their 7th Fleet, there was a quiet assurance on the Russian side that we are behind you. Fortunately, that never came to an actual confrontation. We don't know where it would actually have gone. Russia did support us, but again, the so-called international debate was really a Western debate. It was a debate dominated by the America-allied Western powers. If you had a voice there, you were heard. If you didn't have a voice there, you basically ranted into the winds, which is what we tried to do. This is not to say that all of the West ignored these things. There were several Western agencies who described this as the worst genocide of history. Even the Beatles had a song about Bangladesh. So you did have people making efforts to bring attention to what was happening in East Pakistan, Bangladesh. But the American hegemony was so immensely powerful that there was no question whatsoever of effectively countering it.